All right, folks, we're going to give it a couple more minutes before we get started. So hopefully you can answer that question we put in the chat box. Okay, I'll go ahead and get started here, Kelly. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to our webinar series on the wonderful world of AI. My name is Wade Tulk, and I'm the Director of Consulting Experience here at the Select Group, and I'm the host for today's call. Same as last week, we have a lot to cover today, so I'll be brief, but there are a couple of housekeeping items I want to quickly run through. Number one, today is the second part of a two-part series webinar, with both recordings being available on our YouTube channel directly after this presentation. Number two, following the presentation, there will be a dedicated Q&A session where you get to ask Andrew any questions. And again, there are several ways you can do this. The first way is probably the best way because it goes directly to Andrew, and that's in the Q&A section at the top. Second, we have the chat box, and Kelly Down will be taking care of that section. And third, you can always raise your digital hand, and I'll call on you to ask your question verbally. Now, I would like to introduce our guest presenter for today, Andrew Midkiff. Andrew and the Select Group, as I mentioned before, we go way back over 11 years, and we've had a great relationship in many different capacities. And Andrew, I want to thank you once again for putting this together, because I know it's a lot of work, a lot of time. So thank you so much once again. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I will hand it over to Andrew. Andrew, take it away, my friend.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate you having me today. Welcome, everyone. We have our own nice little village here today. For those of you who attended my talk last week on AI governance, you may remember I discussed three key elements to navigating the risks and perils of an AI implementation. I talked about the tools used to navigate safely, a map of potential risks, and a community to support your efforts. Today, I wanted to expand upon that last point, how to build the right community to maximize your chances of success when implementing AI in your organization. We all know that harnessing the full potential of AI takes more than just the technology itself. It definitely helps to have a vibrant, diverse community working with a shared purpose. And that's where an AI Center of Excellence comes in. In this talk, I'll show you how a well-structured Center of Excellence, or COE as I'll often refer to it, can function as the central hub of your AI initiative, bringing together your diverse perspectives, breaking down silos, and creating a space where innovation flourishes alongside your responsible governance. I'll also describe some of the key functions of a COE and how it can deliver value for your entire organization. And finally, I'll walk you through where to start and kind of how to build a COE from initial setup through to organizational maturity. As I mentioned in my previous talk, AI is a powerful amplifier. It can dramatically enhance organizational capabilities, but it also introduces challenges that can require thoughtful navigation. Your COE provides the collaborative framework to maximize those benefits through improved communication, shared innovation, while also helping to mitigate the risks through your diverse expertise and supported accountability. Next slide. One of the foundational elements of an effective AI Center of Excellence is diversity. Diversity of thought, diversity of experiences, diversity of perspective, and diversity of expertise. Just like a thriving village relies on having a variety of specialized skills in the village, Your COE needs to bring together multiple viewpoints to be truly successful. That means you need representation from across your organization, not just the technical teams, but also legal teams, marketing gurus, compliance and security folks, and obviously the end users themselves. If you limit your COE to just one department, like engineering, you're setting yourself up for some dangerous blind spots. The legal team, for example, they often can provide crucial insights on data privacy regulations. Marketing will understand your customers' true needs and pain points. Compliance and security should be able to raise important considerations about responsible AI use. And of course, with the end users themselves, they'll bring their invaluable real-world experiences to help improve how the technology is actually used, as well as to spark new innovative ideas. Bringing all of these diverse perspectives together in your center of excellence ensures you're examining your AI opportunities from every possible angle. AI can also enhance creativity and productivity in amazing ways, but it also has the potential to magnify biases and misinformation. If you don't have that diversity of perspectives in your COE, these kinds of issues can sometimes go undetected until they end up causing real harm. With a wide range of viewpoints and experiences in your village, you can identify potential concerns around issues like fairness, inclusivity, and accessibility right from the start of development. That way, you can begin to build trust in your AI systems from the very beginning. We don't want to forget as well that implementing transformative technologies like AI also require a solid strategy for managing organizational change. Anytime you're rolling out transformative new technologies, especially something that has as much, let's say, emotion behind it, as we often find with AI, you're going to create a certain amount of uncertainty and even resistance within the organization. But a diverse center of excellence can act as a built-in change management network with your trusted voices from across the different departments who can help you authentically address these concerns. The internal ambassadors from your COE can help your colleagues understand the true benefits of AI, smooth the transition much more effectively than just a top-down communication ever could. And finally, building that diverse COE will actually help you build a real sense of ownership for your AI initiatives across the organization. When people feel like they've participated in the development process, they naturally feel more invested in the ultimate success. A diverse center of excellence ensures you're building AI with your people and not just for them. And when employees see that their feedback is actually being heard and incorporated, adoption rates go up significantly. Next slide. To harness all that diverse talent and expertise you've added to your COE, you need a structured environment for true collaboration. And that's where your center of excellence becomes absolutely essential. It's not just a technical resource, it's the central nervous system powering your entire AI initiatives. First and foremost, your COE needs to function as a dedicated meeting place, a virtual village square where all the diverse perspectives can converge and ideas can really flourish. Without this central hub, communication starts to break down, and all those valuable insights can get lost in departmental silos. I'm sure you've all experienced those situations where the engineers can't connect with the legal team or the data scientists are completely disconnected from marketing. When that happens, you lose both your innovation potential as well as potentially your risk awareness. Implementation of AI in isolation will often deepen these existing organizational divides. That's why a well-designed center of excellence is so critical. It brings together all the key players, from the technical teams and data specialists to the operational users and compliance experts, and even leadership. That way you can ensure all the diverse perspectives are informing your overall AI strategy. You'll also need to establish some very clear communication pathways. Information silos are especially dangerous when it comes to implementing AI. For example, if you don't include compliance from the very beginning, you might end up investing in AI solutions that could face major regulatory roadblocks down the line. If you don't consult your end users, your fear, uncertainty, and dread, the good old FUD, can remain unaddressed, and adoption is going to suffer. But your center of excellence can provide the necessary structure to make sure those critical conversations happen continuously and productively. And let's not forget about building in these collaborative processes. Your stakeholders need more than just an occasional meeting or brown bag. Setting up established workflows will allow them to contribute their expertise throughout the entire AI lifecycle. And there's no single solution for how you're going to do this. So much depends upon your organization, what you're rolling out AI for, et cetera, et cetera. But the more your virtual village can facilitate a meaningful exchange between departments, between people, between roles, the more powerful and responsible your ultimate AI implementation will be. Let's go to the next slide. To really maximize the value from your center of excellence, it needs to provide a set of key services. Services that are helping to drive adoption, ensure compliance, as well as accelerate innovation. One of the most valuable services your COE can provide is establishing robust governance and governance communication. Your COE should be a central mechanism for disseminating all the critical legal and policy information. Things like updates on data privacy regulations, acceptable use policies, and ethical guidelines. When you make the Center of Excellence the home for all AI governance, you create a single source of truth that can reduce confusion and ensure consistent compliance across the organization. Having a central repository helps all your teams have a lot more confidence as they attempt to navigate the potentially complex regulatory landscapes. We all know that when AI is properly deployed, it can dramatically enhance productivity. But without the proper guardrails in place, it also creates some significant risks. That's where your center of excellence really steps in, as it can act as a steward of responsible AI practices, translating all those complex legal requirements into practical, actionable guidance that everyday users can actually understand and apply. You also need to build out a comprehensive learning infrastructure. This includes things like formal training programs, informal mentoring networks, and ongoing opportunities for continuous skill improvement. You might have a formal training organization within your company, but using your COE to facilitate as well as help define all of that tailored education, like technical deep dives for the developers, practical application workshops for the business units, and even executive briefings for the leadership. This can help to ensure that the training is visible, it is supported by more than just classroom time, and it's reinforced with best practices. By supporting all of these educational resources through the COE, you create real economies of scale. As well, you can ensure that the messaging about AI capabilities and limitations remains consistent across the organization. And even more importantly, for education, it's reinforced long after the classwork is over. Let's not forget about building those effective feedback mechanisms either. Your center of excellence can serve really as a great central clearinghouse for all the system feedback you're going to get, collecting it, analyzing it, and then acting on the insights that are coming in from across your entire organization. Talking about things like technical support tickets, user satisfaction surveys, or performance metrics, reports of any particular problematic outputs. By aggregating all of that feedback, you can start to identify patterns, prioritize necessary improvements, and then share those key lessons learned, all of which helps maintain trust in your AI systems over the long run and contributes to your continuous improvement. You might also consider establishing your Center of Excellence as a true innovation incubator, a space where you can prototype and test out new promising AI use cases before rolling them out more broadly. This kind of sandbox approach allows you to experiment in a controlled environment, which reduces the overall risk while also potentially accelerating innovation and the delivery of value. In larger organizations, your COE can also function as a central resource optimization hub. It can help teams avoid duplicating efforts or duplicating solutions. Instead, leverage the existing solutions and expertise that's already out there. And by maintaining that broad visibility across all the different AI initiatives, understanding what tools are being used, how they're being used, and the value that's being realized, the COE can then step in to connect similar projects, share reusable components, and ensure that your AI expertise is being allocated as efficiently as possible. Next slide. So how do you go, excuse me, how do you go about building your COE? How much needs to be in place before you roll out? And do you do it as a big splash or an iterative and incremental evolution? So much is going to depend, obviously, on your organization's culture and practices, as well as the size, complexity of your organization, and the AI rollout itself. And I will say that one consideration is that because of the speed of change within AI systems, and that speed does not seem to be slowing down anytime soon. There's no indication that it's going to be slowing down anytime soon. I heartily recommend at least a phased, if not a full-blown agile approach to building your COE. But no matter your approach, you're going to see your Center of Excellence go through kind of three main milestones in its evolution. Even if you develop iteratively and incrementally, it's obviously going to be more of a continuous spectrum. But I think there's value in discussing kind of three conceptual phases that can give us at least a general idea of how a COE usually evolves. The first phase I'm going to call charter, pilot, and learn. When it comes to building a successful AI Center of Excellence, I recommend starting small, which allows you to learn, iterate quickly, and improve what you're doing before you begin to scale things up. Start by putting together an initial charter that includes your business goals, your ethical principles and organizational values, as well as the key objectives for both AI and your COE. Then assemble your core cross-functional team that represents the key stakeholders for this initial phase. They're going to be the ones driving your first pilot program. This initial group will form the nucleus of your future Center of Excellence. And you'll want to make sure they include the technical experts, business leaders who understand the goals, as well as subject matter specialists across whatever domains are needed. Having that diversity of perspective, as I mentioned before, the very beginning is what's going to help you navigate both the technical challenges as well as the organizational ones. You're going to want to clearly define what success looks like for your initial pilot program. And that's not just about achieving your business goals. It's also what success looks like for testing and validating your overall Center of Excellence model. Adapt your initial COE structure to fit the needs of this pilot. Take those learnings, incorporate them as you expand and develop your COE further alongside the broader AI rollout. As part of this, you'll want to bid out an initial feedback mechanism. I've talked about this before, but this is important, where you're going to want to gather systematically the various things like solution performance, user experience, any implementation challenges that come up. If you can, create multiple feedback channels, send out surveys, have interviews, usage metrics, workshops to capture both the quantitative and qualitative insights that you need. That feedback is going to be the fuel that powers the continuous improvement of both your AI solutions as well as your overall COE model. The knowledge that comes out of this initial phase is also going to become the foundation for expanding and scaling your AI implementation, as well as your COE. It'll help you avoid repeating same mistakes as you grow. Second phase, that's generally expand and scale. All right, so now it's time to move beyond that initial pilot program. The key here is to formalize your COE structure based on all the real-world experience that you've gained through the first phase. First up, you'll want to refine that original COE charter using the insights you gained from the pilot. Update things like your mission, your objectives, your overall operating model. Reflect on what worked well, what unexpected challenges emerged, and how stakeholder expectations may have evolved. Your revised charter should reflect all of those learnings while still maintaining alignment with your broader organizational goals, values, and ethics. Next, you'll begin to broaden out your COE membership to include representatives from even more departments. This network of AI champions who are embedded throughout your organization can really help you advocate for the responsible AI adoption that is continuing. You'll also want to carefully evaluate your overall training approach. Was that initial pilot training successful? What additional support might users need going forward? You might want to consider things like implementation guidance for your tech teams, more practical application training and mentorship opportunities for your general users, maybe even dedicated executive education. Your Center of Excellence becomes the central hub for the whole educational ecosystem, where people can find both formal and informal resources to improve their knowledge and skills. As your AI footprint continues to expand, you'll want to really build up that robust governance framework. That means establishing formal policies around things like data usage, model selection, output review, and key ethical considerations. These governance frameworks will protect your organization while still enabling innovation, but within the appropriate guardrails. As your AI footprint continues to expand, you'll want to really build up that robust governance framework, as I said, and you'll also want to expand your overall risk management framework along with this governance framework. That means regularly monitoring for risks, especially as the underlying technology continues to evolve and change. You'll also need to adapt your AI solutions to different organizational contexts. It means scaling your initial AI solution to other parts of the company, while also customizing it to address the specific needs of each department, and customizing your COE to address changing and new needs. You need to do all this while still maintaining your core standards, ethics, and values. The last phase is essentially just optimize and mature. To ensure long-term sustainability of your Center of Excellence, you really want to focus on 3 key areas: measurement, community building, and continuous innovation. First up, you'll want to develop some clear performance indicators that are relevant to both your organization as well as your specific AI implementation, the goals and the value that you're looking for out of that AI implementation. If you need further justification for your COE, you can also establish metrics that connect your activities to tangible business outcomes, and as well as things like user satisfaction, like adoption rates, efficiency gains, cost savings, and quality improvements. Regular reporting on those metrics is what's going to demonstrate the true value of your Center of Excellence and secure ongoing support. You also want to start to expand your feedback mechanisms across every aspect of your program. Again, from technical performance to user experience to overall governance effectiveness. Create multiple channels that allow users to easily share their insights, report any issues, and suggest improvements. The continuous feedback cycle is what's going to drive ongoing refinement and improvement of both your COE as well as your AI implementation. This will happen over time, as well as helping you to monitor and manage your risks. Throughout all of this, you're going to want to foster a vibrant community of practice. That means connecting your AI users across the entire organization through things like knowledge sharing sessions, internal forums, mentoring opportunities, and even recognition programs. This community can become a powerful engine for innovation, for troubleshooting, and even peer-to-peer learning. Ultimately, you want to reduce the dependency on just that core COE team by distributing the expertise and know-how more broadly across the organization, with your center of excellence setting up models of how to build maybe smaller communities within your larger organization. You also want to leverage the COE to build out future-focused capabilities. In a large organization, you might even be able to dedicate specific resources to closely monitoring the latest AI developments and evaluate the potential impact on your organization. Even if you can't dedicate full-time resources, at least create a dedicated space for people who are interested to experiment with promising new technologies and facilitate the sharing of those key insights and discoveries. That way, you're promoting innovation while also managing risks of people hot dogging it and going out and trying new things without any kind of controls or guidance. You're almost guaranteed in any organization to have some people who are intensely interested in the latest and greatest. So give them a safe space to explore this and the capability to communicate what they discover to the other interested innovators in your village. This safe experimental sandbox kind of space can really help promote innovation by encouraging your teams to explore novel AI applications, maybe through innovation contests or dedicated exploration time, or even seed funding for the most promising ideas. The forward-looking orientation is what's going to ensure your COE remains relevant and valuable as AI capabilities continue to expand over time. Next slide, please. The truth is, to build truly enduring success with AI, we've said before, you need more than just the technology itself. You need a strong, vibrant community. Your center of excellence is that village at the very heart of your AI journey that can bring together all the diverse talents, perspectives, and areas of expertise that can ensure your success. You want to establish a thriving central hub where ideas, challenges, and solutions can be freely exchanged and discussed. And just like any vibrant village, your COE becomes this bustling marketplace where all those different specialties can come together. The technical experts, the business leaders, the ethical crusaders, and the practical sages, all coming together to create something greater than the sum of its parts. We know that AI is an incredibly powerful amplifier, as I've said before. It has the ability to truly transform organizations, but only when it's implemented with careful consideration of both the opportunities and the risks. And in this village of yours, you have the elders handling the governance, the teachers leading the training, the scouts exploring new innovations, and even the healers managing risks. Each plays a vital role in ensuring your AI journey remains balanced and truly beneficial. Now, it's up to you to manage and cultivate your village in a way that allows you to develop sustainable growth patterns. just like how villages evolve from small settlements into thriving communities over time. Your COE is going to mature through its own distinct phases, starting with those initial pilots, then expanding into broader implementation, and ultimately driving organizational transformation. But the idea is that at each stage, those previous foundations you've laid down will support the next level of advancement. And the true measure of success for your AI village isn't just about the technological implementation itself. It's about how it transforms your overall organization. When AI becomes truly woven into the fabric of how your people work, how they communicate, and how they solve problems on a daily basis, that's when you know your center of excellence has truly succeeded. So continue nurturing and cultivating your community throughout your entire AI journey. The technology will continue to evolve, and your use cases will expand. But it's that collaborative spirit at the heart of your center of excellence that will remain the constant, that turns the promise of AI into a practical, responsible reality. Thank you.
All right, Andrew, thank you so much. Some great content once again. So I want to open it up for questions, but I've been told that we actually had an opening question on the screen that we could see, but no one else could see. So I'm actually going to start the Q&A session myself with that question. And Andrew, I'm going to ask it to you. But so we asked people, where in your life do you currently use AI the most, if at all? So I'll turn this to you, Andrew, and I'll ask it in a different way. Where do you foresee the biggest use of AI, not in someone's work life, but in their personal life?
Oh gosh, it is rapidly changing. I see a lot of people using it for in good ways to ask questions and to explore new ideas and to get suggestions on things. One thing I haven't really tried out yet, but I've seen a lot of people doing, is using it for recipes. But whenever you're using it to ask for new information that you're not that familiar with yourself, or will bring in new things that you hadn't thought of, as I brought up in my last conversation about governance, it's always a good idea to treat the AI, especially any LLMs, the generative AI that you're using, as a very enthusiastic, enthusiastic helper who wants to help and provide information, but whose work you may need to double check and make sure that, yeah, that does make sense. Generative AI wants so much to please that it will oftentimes make up things completely. And that's okay, as long as we recognize that we need to trust but verify. People are coming up with great meal plans. I think I saw that as a comment, coming up with recipes and things. Travel plans are interesting as well. I do a lot of travel planning. I do all the travel planning for my family, and we've done some pretty amazing trips. And I recently started using that a little bit to find ideas of things in certain locations. I always make sure that, yes, that truly is a place, and check it out. But I think what's going to happen is, as models start to become more capable to actually use the internet, and you can start to build more agents and agentic use of models, it's going to become more useful for personal life and personal uses. But it's still, for me at least, I still use it much more in a professional situation than I do personally. But I'm sure there's a lot of great creative uses out there.
Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate that. So Andrew, I'm not sure if we have some activity in the chat box here, some comments, but I'm not sure, Andrew, if you have any questions in the Q&A section.
Not yet.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna check here. I'm gonna ask one other question, Andrew, if that's okay, while we're waiting for some questions to come in. Where could someone expect, if we wanted to build a COE in a company, where could someone expect the biggest pushback to come from, for lack of a better term?
Oftentimes the initial pushback that you get is, how can we spend resources to do this? What's the value proposition for spending resources to do what seems like just gathering people together? Unless you have a group that is dedicated to this, it's often difficult to get people to invest in it. But that's where setting up a good charter, a statement of value of, this is what we're going to do, this is how we would like to do it, and this is the value we expect to return from this. So it becomes a project in and of itself, and getting people from, once you talk to people in groups like legal and compliance and training, they can start to recognize a value for having a centralized voice for this, especially if it's not, we're taking over your job. It's, we're helping to facilitate you doing your job that you, legal or compliance or whatever, would normally be doing. Sometimes it's getting people in the operational groups who are actually going to be impacted by AI to participate. It's going to depend on the organization, but you can run into all these various kinds of resistance. But this is where having I think the first and most important point is having somebody whose job it is to care about the center of excellence. Once you have somebody whose job is, part of their job is to actually develop the COE, then that's the first and the biggest hurdle. Once that happens, you can make cases and bring people on board and show value that they would get from joining you in the COE. But that first hurdle of getting somebody whose job it is that includes that is going to be the biggest hurdle. So.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. I think I'll let Kelly, I think something popped up in chat here that I'll let Kelly read out here.
Yeah, one of our attendees asked, what's the difference between a center of excellence and the standard governance organizations we currently have?
Well, there is definitely overlap. And as I've mentioned in the talk, you want to include the governance organization as one of your key stakeholders within the Center of Excellence. The Center of Excellence is more than setting up responsible use and policies and procedures. It's also about supporting end users in innovation, in training, and you want it. Some organizations, their governance organization, their governance department is mature and it has a lot of resources that you can leverage in your COE. In some, it's not so much. So it's going to vary in your organizations, but the COE goes beyond just governance, but it also goes to technical support. It goes to continued education and communication and community, building a community from the users and the various stakeholders. So.
Thank you, Andrew.
Sure.
I do not have any hands raised here. I don't see anything in the chat box. So, Andrew, unless there's something in the Q&A section.
I'm not seeing anything. Okay. I've got run into a technical slide. Let me reload it. Nope. Okay. Well, if Andrew, anybody does have questions, oh, here we go. There was one. No. So the question was, when you talk about that first hurdle, making it someone's job to care about this, is that 100% of a person's time? What's the minimum effective dose? Yeah, that's no, it does not have to be a 100% role, especially as you're starting out. But it has to be somebody whose manager has said, yes, this is a part of your job. This is something that you need to be helping to develop as the COE grows in size, and it depends upon your organization, depends upon the size of the AI implementation. If you're rolling out AI to, say, all of customer service, that's a big rollout. Even in a small company, that's a significant rollout. And there are a lot of issues around that and a lot of support that will be needed. So there are, you can start small, start iterative and incremental. And if you have nothing else, then at least try to spend the time that it's needed to bring groups together to say, we're all working on AI. Let's at least start talking, create a Slack channel, create, whatever your mechanism is in your organization for communication. Even if you do that and just monitor that and, invite people to it, that right there is the beginnings, the kernel of a COE. And that wouldn't take a huge amount of time. But even that amount of coordination and communication and community building can still see benefits. And once you start showing benefits from that, perhaps you can make more of a case for spending more resources on building that out.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. That's a great question, Jennifer. Well, Andrew, before we sign off, I see on the screen here, if folks want to get some more information from you or
Sure.
want to discuss further about establishing a COE, at the bottom of the screen here, it looks like midkiff at understandinggroup.com. Is it the best way?
Yeah, that would be a great way. There's also my LinkedIn profile, a Midkiff. You can contact me there. And I'm more than happy to answer questions and talk more about this should you have questions in the future.
Fantastic. Well, Andrew, thank you for your time. I want to thank some folks real quick. Andrew, first of all, putting this together for us. Tyra and Dub, thank you so much for technically helping us here put this together. Missy and the entire CES team, thank you so much. It takes a lot of work to put something like this together. So appreciate everyone's time. Thank you for taking the lunchtime to do this, and everyone have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Andrew.
Everyone. Thanks, Andrew.